Welcome back to Meistergram. I'm Hector, and in this video we're going to show you how to thread your Gem 1502, 1504, 1506, or 1508 multi-head bridge embroidery machines. We'll begin by head number 1, and we'll start with placing a cone on the cone holder for needle number 1. If you notice right above the cone, you'll have a label showing you needle number 1. Simply take your thread and thread from back to front through the eyelet, continuing all the way to the front of the machine. Next, we will insert the thread in through the passage of our pre-tension. We will follow it by threading our pre-tensioner. Be aware that you need to place a thread in between the two tension discs. Once you've threaded your pre-tensioner, locate your threading tool from your toolbox. The threading tool is a special piece of wire used to snake the thread through the thread tube. In order to thread the thread tube, simply take the threading tool and thread the eyelet on the threading tool. You may leave 5 to 6 inches of slack so that the tool does not become unthreaded. Now insert one end of the tool into the thread tube. Once you've snaked the threading tool through the thread tube, simply pull until you take the thread out off the other side. Now your threading of your thread tube is complete. If you don't have a thread tool, simply use a needle to drop the thread through the tube. Once you have your thread tube ready, go ahead and snap it into the base of the pre-tensioner. Always double check to make sure that your thread is threaded between the two thread discs. If the thread is not placed through the two discs, this may cause bunching up, loose threads, bird's nesting, and other issues with your sew-outs. We're now going to take the other end of our thread tube and snap it onto the top of the needle case. We will continue by threading our thread clip on top. To thread the clip, simply push on the opposite side, raising the part that we need to thread. Now slide the thread underneath. Release it, and now your thread is clipped. Now we'll continue to the main tension. For odd needles, we'll notice that the tension has a post on the top of the tension discs. For the even needles, we do not have that post. Start by threading the post left to right. Next, insert the thread in between the two tension discs. And exit by jumping over the lower tension post. This helps the thread stay in the tensioner in case it gets pulled to the right. We'll follow by threading our thread break detection wheel. Start by placing the thread underneath the top hook. Next, take your thread over to the left and thread around the plastic roller. Bring the thread up towards the top of the thread break wheel and wrap the thread one complete time around the wheel. Exit to the left of the lower post. We'll now thread our second clip. Press the opposite side of the clip to lift the area we'll be threading and slide the thread underneath. Then release. We will continue by threading our take-up lever area. First, locate the take-up lever that corresponds to the needle that we're threading. Place the thread just off to the right of the take-up lever and inside the cover. Next, locate the check spring area. The check spring contains 2 rollers and a spring. In order to thread this properly, start by taking your thread and running it through the side of the right roller and exiting then the center. Next, thread the spring right to left. We'll follow by threading the left roller. We'll start from the center and enter towards the left side of the roller. This will cause our thread to come around the outer areas of the rollers. We will now go back up to the top, inserting the thread into the gap on the cover. And we will take the tip of our thread and thread the take-up lever right to left, making sure that the excess thread that's coming back up stays inside of the groove on the cover. Once we exit the take-up lever, simply go back inside the cover through the same groove and locate the eyelet just to the left of the check spring rollers. You will thread the eyelet top to bottom, making sure to stay behind the adjustment bar for the check springs. Next, we'll thread our thread trimming clamp. On newer models, you will find a thread clamp system with a through eyelet. This thread clamp system has a clamp that raises and can be threaded from right to left. Once threaded, simply release the clamp. We will follow by threading the needle guide, and finally threading the needle front to back. Now that we have threaded our needle, we suggest pulling some thread to make sure that we're not caught or snagging anywhere on the needle case. Now here's a quick tip. In order to avoid any tangling on your first few stitches, thread the presser foot top to bottom, and then catch your tail on the thread clamp. You may trim the tail to no less than an inch off the thread clamp. Remember that each needle case contains one tension and one thread break wheel. For the on needles, you will locate the thread tension on the lower area as well as the thread break wheel. For the even needles, your thread tensioner and your thread break wheel will be on the upper area. That concludes threading our embroidery machine. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and don't forget to follow us on social media and here on our YouTube channel.